Welcome to Atala's presentation. We're going to collect questions in chat. I will collate them for her. If you have any difficulties technically, just put it in chat directly to me. I'm still admitting people from the waiting room. We're going to post a link for evaluations at the end, and we will upload her handouts. If anyone cannot get them because of your technology, private chat me your email address and I will email them to you after the presentation ends. Welcome, Atala. We are so glad that you were able to be here today. It might be bad luck for someone else, but it's good luck for us.
Well, I am so happy to be here with everyone and to be speaking to people who have an interest in what is my life's work, is showing the reality of nature spirits, that they're real, they're intelligent, that they are happy to work with us if we work with them, and how dowsing gives you access into this world. So this is going to be the focus of my study, and I am now going to share screen and come into this. There. All right, let's get that. Here we go. And let's make sure, yes. All right, so here we are. So the talk today is dowsing and nature spirit communication. And this is me with one of my buddies. That's a grandmother in a mesquite tree out in Tucson, Arizona, who whenever I get out there, I always love to go visit. And inside of her, if you look closely, you'll see a lot of other beings. But she's a lovely old crone, and kind of that's two crones getting together and chatting. Just to let people know, this is part of the Riding the Crest of Change, the 61st American Society of Dowsers Convention, and I'm so happy to be here with everyone. A bit about my background. I'm the author of 3 books on interdimensional communication, Nature Spirits, Spirit Guides, and Ghosts, How to Talk with and Photograph Beings of Other Realms. We Are Not Alone, a guidebook to interdimensional cooperation, and Nature Spirits in American Trees, which is a photo book. So what I've done is combine dowsing, photographic accuracy, and art to create photos of images of nature spirits that offer them the same respect that you would offer a client if you were a portrait photographer and took them into your studio to take a photo. I feel that they deserve this. So my artwork by itself, if you just take the image, it's been the recipient of numerous art photography awards, including Best of Show. And if you want to see yourself, because what I'm going to show you is how you can go into any of my accurate photos, and you can focus on them, you can douse on them, and then you can find it's a path into connecting to the nature spirits yourself to do your own work. You know, if we keep going, we know from dowsing, if we keep going back to the same field, we developed an easy back and forth that makes it easy for us to go out on our own and do it. And that's what I'm seeking to achieve for all of you. So I have a website, atalatoy.com. I also have a Facebook group, Nature Spirits Around the World, because when you get into this, you always want to share with everybody else what you found yourself. So this is a place where you can join and in the safety of a closed group, post to people with like minds. I am the founding president emeritus of Crystal Life Technology. It's one of the original I hate to say it, metaphysical websites, begun back in 1995. I just retired, and I am a former vice president of the American Society of Dowsers. Now, what we're going to cover today is photos of what you're going to dowse for. I want to show you what I've discovered, and if you go out, what you can discover. What type of dowsing provides this information, and what types of proof verify the information you've achieved. That is, in nature-spirit communication down through the ages, millions of people have stated that they can talk to nature spirits, that they visit the nature spirit realms, and they write about it and they draw about it. But until the advent of photography, and specifically the higher frequencies of our modern digital cameras, we had no way to prove to other people that we weren't crazy, and that we didn't just have a great imagination. So my work specifically is designed to show that these beings are real and what they're capable of doing to help us and for us to help them. So now I'm going to start out with photos of the nature spirits. And these are out of the thousands of photos that I've taken over the years. I have categorized them. And this is just a beginning categorization, but it gives you a place to start as to what the types of forces there are working in nature that we as humans could access. That is, way, way long ago, there was a split in frequency between the nature realm and the human realm. So one time we could, as all of our legends say, one time we could communicate and see each other, and then the frequency split. So what does it look like if we get back in touch with each other? Humans went for technology. Nature spirits went for working with the forces of nature to create a sophisticated, highly evolved culture. So the first category that is the simplest is the nature spirit itself. Sometimes, now I like to do these in rocks and trees because these are palettes and canvases that the nature spirits make use of as their art forms, just like we might do a sculpture or a painting. So this is Grandfather Rock. He's up in Estes Park, and this is his energy field. He's the grandfather over a whole mountainside of rock beings. And right in here, this is just big enough for a human to sit. So I met him one summer many years ago when I was going through some personal changes, and I needed some help and some peace. So, and I went up and I sat here, and he was so kind. He took me into his inner world, very peaceful inner world, and introduced me to his family, and helped me to get that solid rock foundation I needed for my own personal changes. So every time I go back there, I go back and visit him and sit with him. So again, this is the spirit itself manifesting. Now, there is another category of beings, and that is life forms who live in the tree or the rock. And they use the tree or rock as, they post an image there, and that's their signature. They keep their frequency there, and if anybody wants to contact or comes near it, they see that image and they know, oh, that belongs to this masked wood elf. So here, I happen to have an affinity, apparently, for the masked wood elves. And I get these a lot in my images, and they help me a lot in my work. So here, this is up in North Conway, New Hampshire. And this elf here, now you have to look closely. And if you don't see it, if you're not seeing it there, you need to take and do body dowsing and adjust your frequency until the image comes forward, and then you're going to see it and say, oh my God, how come I never saw that before? So that's what happens in this field. So here he is. This is his signature tree. He's in charge of this whole area. And what he does is it's like the tree's like an antenna that grounds and anchors his frequency. He can go anywhere in the grid. All right, we all know ley lines and grids from dowsing. He can go anywhere in the Merkaba grid of his domain of responsibility, and his connection to the central antenna point means that if anything happens in any part of his territory, he's immediately aware of it and will instantly be there working. So this here you see his eye, and there's two forms here because of the limited canvas. It's kind of like Picasso type drawings and images where you will see an image full face in profile, one size, larger size, merging. There's so many ways that the sophisticated artist of the nature spirit world creates their canvas. So here, if you look at it one way, you're going to see a young man, and here's his hat, and it's a feather type wood elf cloak. And then if you look at it another way, you see the young man in his elderly status, and here his eye is here, and he comes down with his face here and his cloak. And then up in here, there is his familiar. And all of the elevated nature spirits have a familiar, and that in our world is what we call a guardian or a totem animal or a guardian angel. In the nature realm, they tell me it's called a familiar. And this is a life form who is comfortably rests in the nature spirit's energy field, and kind of fills the field from the spirit realm, protecting the being and helping him. So it's not something over the person or obstructing. It's a life force aid that we humans actually also have in our energy field. So those of you who say, who the heck am I talking to? I'm talking to somebody. Well, look and see if it's not your guardian, your familiar, who isn't above you or anything, just helping and protecting you from spirit. So that's what this type of being is. All right, now let's see, does not want to move. Let's page down. All right. There is another type of energy that the nature spirits make use of in their world, and those are called nodal trees. So again, dowsers working with land energy are really aware of the grids that exist throughout, and the fact that Earth isn't really solid. It's just so many stacked layers of frequencies of grids that it looks that way. Well, each of these grids has its own personality, characteristics, and purpose. And some of us see the grid, some of us see the life form that is the grid. I see both, but in this case, this is the ape grid. Now, this image is in Central Park, and which is a really powerful place for nature spirits to work with all the people in New York City. So here is the ape template, and here is an image of the undeveloped humans that are evolving up from the that ape template. And here are nature spirits that are supporting this growth. And the ape's familiar right here. You can see the eyes and the nose and the mouth. Now, in this case, this is the case where I used textures and Adobe photographic knowledge to drop out the background, because, to give it the honor that a human would give a portrait study. Because you, as a photographer going out in nature, you're taking a picture of a tree or a rock set in a very lush, detailed background. And if you're lucky and you're really good at your craft, you can do a narrow depth of field and get that image. But if you really want to stand out, then what I do is I will take a light texture and put it behind. So you're seeing the image that the life form is in, but the focus can be where you want it to be and what you see energetically. When you're in front of that tree, you're only seeing that tree. You're not seeing everything else around it. But the camera, thank God, the camera takes pictures of everything, even things you can't see yourself until you get back and look in the computer. But it also takes pictures of everything. So sometimes you need to isolate it out. A really, really interesting area are artistic tableaus. And in this, we get in the sophisticated life forms. It's somewhat similar, you know, to crop circles that are enormously complex. They couldn't just have been created by happenstance. And we're still trying to decipher who created them. It's the same with these artistic tableaus. I sometimes come upon a scene that is so complex that it can't have been happenstance, and it has a statement that it's making. So this case, this is a very beautiful tree in Central Park that over here is next to the John Lemon Strawberry Fields Memorial. And the nature spirits explained to me that this is their tableau of respect to John Lennon, depicting him as Pan, whose music entranced humans and animals alike. So here you see him as a long-haired musician playing the panpipes, you see here. And he's entrancing both animals. You see a rabbit here. Over here, you see kind of a preppy boy whistling with his little tuxedo and his bow tie, and then other nature spirits around. So when you find these tableaus and you go up close, very often it looks like in our world, somebody would have taken soft butter and run a finger through it or a palette knife through it. You can see how the bark has just been kind of moved about to create this image. And in other areas, like in the face, how they work with the bark of the tree itself. So the bark is there, but the image is there as well. Now, a lot of you like to do orb photography. And Susan Collins is an absolutely wonderful proponent of this. She's been to visit my store and my home in Geneva and taken photos there, and myriads of orbs all around. Orbs love happy places, and she got just a wonderful array of them. I am not an orb photographer, but sometimes they do appear in my photos. And so this is one of my favorites. This is a beautiful orb with a figure here, and then a chakra colors going out. And that's what you want to look for when you're doing orb photography. That differentiates it from specks of dust or from light flares. You're looking for internal structure. And in this case, if you notice over in this side, the orb is not as detailed as on this side. Well, when I was taking this photo and I was focusing on the roots, I heard a voice say to me, this is right by that children's playground, this beautiful tree. And this voice said, I would be much more beautiful if the little boys wouldn't pee on me. And I went like, okay. And so I wasn't sure what that meant. But when I got back and I brought up this photo on my computer, I saw the story. So working with a good camera and a good computer program are very beneficial for this work. Also, as an aside, modern cell phones are much more detailed than even some old cameras, so that also works. Now, there are many, many kinds of life forms in nature, and for them, a lot of them, their homes are the trees and rocks. And as I showed you in the wood elf, they make their home here and then they leave their signature image. So I happen to be very fond of green men, and I've worked with them throughout my life and in previous lives. So here is my buddy who is in a local park. And here's what the green men look like if you were in the Celtic countries and you saw, they recognize the face and then they recognize this leaf structure that comes back from them. Well, you can see that in this photo here, where we have this facial structure of leaves going back. Now, the green men explained to me that this is it's like almost like a peacock. They spread back like this when they're relaxed. But if they have to go in battle, these leaves come forward and they create armor around them. So the green men are the philosophers, the scholars, the warriors of the nature spirit realm. All right, now I could go on forever, but I see time is going by and we have a lot to cover. So I'm going to kind of speed through some of these. These are the ladies of the forest, and these are the forms who are in charge of the comings and goings of all of the nature in their realm, their particular area of responsibility. And you can see here her heart-shaped face. One eye is conspicuously absent, as Keith Schaefer long ago taught me with the Native Americans. When you see one eye visibly present and one eye visibly absent, this is a messenger being. And so the ladies of the forest, they have one eye out here and one eye in the inner realms, and they can move back and forth and serve as ways for you to get messages to the inner world or bring forth messages from spirit for yourself. And there's also something called familiars. I brought that up with the wood elf, and those are beings that rest over a nature spirit and protect them, kind of protect their back, and rest in their energy field as a protection form. This is a poinciana tree down in the West Indies. And here's an African looking Jamaican with a elephant familiar. There are portal guardians. And portals, dowsers we're familiar with the front door and the back door of a tree and the use of a French coil to activate energy for a tree. Well, there are also portals in trees. And in this case, just to demonstrate, if you see a portal and you're interested in connecting to the nature spirits, just move in, look around that portal and do that body dowsing and see what the image is, because every portal has its own guard. And that guard of that portal makes sure that only the life forms meant to come in, and none of the life forms not meant to come in can access it. Therefore, if you were walking through the forest, you would not be in danger of ending up inside some bird world, as this is. But if you were a bird spirit, you see down here the bird spirit, and up here is a bird angel, then this would be your access into spirit. And lastly, dowsers know and shamans know that when you see a lightning struck tree, this is a transformation point for energy. And if you do find a lightning struck tree that just occurred and you get a piece of the bark, this can be part of a shaman's pouch of tools that you can use going forward to help people who need to transform their energy. So here are 2 lightning struck trees. And when I do a workshop in this area, I will often take people for a walk through here so they can feel. You see the light here? It's different from out here. Those 2 trees together create a film. And when you walk through, if you were just a person walking through, you just feel, oh, it feels so good. I feel happy, I feel, clear. But if you were an energy worker and you wanted to do some transformation work, you could place what the energy is you want to get out of your field to clear and walk through here, and that it's like a psychic shower. Now we're going to get into what types of dowsing provides verifiable connection. And in this, I want to emphasize that the answer is body dowsing. Body dowsing and the step beyond that, which is just clear, direct communication with the field. Those of you who saw Raymond Grace last night, he was emphasizing how sometimes he just doesn't use the pendulum, he just thinks and goes into the field. So when you're working with nature spirit communication, you can start out with the pendulum. You can start out with a pendulum and a map, but eventually you're going to go up to needing to go into body dowsing and sense, and you can start out with an internal map, sense where that frequency is, and eventually you learn to go and you just look at the situation and you move into the field. So this works because everything is just frequency. Everything lives in a specific frequency range. Most humans stay in the human range. But what if you entered into a different frequency? What lives there? And that's the province of dowsing. Dowsing lets you find the location of something that exists in the universe, you're just not sure where. So this is how I use dowsing to navigate among maybe nature spirit forms or galactic forms that I want to get in touch with, but I'm not quite sure where it is. I'll go back to the basics of dowsing. So what you seek to learn or locate when you're doing dowsing is very personal. And some of us, of the dowsers, want to locate water and gas lines. Dowsing is fantastic for that. Some people want to relocate insects to a less necessary part of the yard. Others want to adjust the chakras. I want to find the location of nature spirits and beings of other dimensions and communicate with them. So seeking depends on the frequency you're seeking, and success depends on your ability to accept the information dowsing is providing you. That is, you can go out and you can dowse for a nature spirit or a green man, but if when that green man comes to talk to you, you then put up a barrier and say, oh, I was just pretending green men aren't real, I can't really talk to them, then that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're not going to have success. If you believe you can, you can. That's again what Raymond Grace was saying. If you believe you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. So this is a field of belief that you can achieve something. So you need to accept for this work that humans are not the only sentient life forms of the universe. And what the question is for many of us in modern society, where do these other life forms exist? What frequency are they in? Now, we know in dowsing is that these frequencies, these life forms, there's something called a Merkaba, which is a closed field of energy. It's and inside that energy, there are all kinds of lines of action that the life form of that energy field has set up by their actions. That is, they have a situation, they solve it, creates a line of action, have another situation, another line of action. So over eons of time, these fields of action, particularly when they're participated in by many, many life forms of that frequency, they create a very strong, complex structure. And the very large ones, if you are dowsing, you can locate that frequency. And if the portal guardian of that frequency, because they all have protection, if they find that you are trustworthy or benign or have good intentions, you can move into that frequency and see. But if you're going in there as a power over move, you probably are not going to get in to the frequency. So you have to do a lot of work on yourself on ahimsa, and non-harm to any living forms, and opening up your own consciousness for this. So this ground is love and ahimsa, as we say here. Now, the most integral type of dowsing to achieve this information is body dowsing. If you get stuck on having to use a pendulum and a chart, that's going to limit your ability to go beyond non-physical matter or to adjust to a situation that you come upon out in the woods where you don't have the chart and the pendulum. So you want to develop that ability to use your own body as your tool. Now, body dowsing is simply internalized chart dowsing. That is, you're doing the same principles as your basic dowsing, but you're just upping it another notch. Let's see. And the benefit of digital photography is that now we can body douse for a life form and work with a life form if it's manifested in a tree or rock, ask it to come more into our physical realm and take a photo. So if they're trusting you and you're able to do this, you can work together to get a good photo. So I'd like to just practice this just for a minute or so, everybody on here. And this is the classic Walt Wood chart that many dowsers use. Those of you who know it know how you can use it in many, many different ways. And I use it myself just to prepare by going into a ready position with my internal pendulum. And then I'll ask, may I can, dear God, for protection of my own energy field, however you term that, guides and guardians or whatever. I'll ask the classic, may I, can I, should I, to see whether this is a situation that's safe for me to douse or enter into. And then I'll ask the question. Now, usually in my field, I am looking for the frequency of a life form that I wish to communicate with. So I am asking, may I, can I, should I connect to this lady of the forest? And if it says yes, I can. Then I'm saying, would you please help me adjust my frequency to that of this life form? And then I'm not really paying attention to any of these numbers. I'm just using this as a frequency guide that takes me through different frequency rates. So then I'll use my pendulum, and I'm internally at the same time adjusting it until I'm going around, and then I'm going like, oh, okay, this for me, this life form is resonating at this point. So now, having found that frequency, I focus on it and I relax into it and connect to the life form. So that works for me. You can see if it works for you. All right. I'm going to give you 1 minute out of this, for time's marching on, but I'd like you to try this for yourself. However you do your dowsing, be looking for the frequency of this heart-oriented lady of the forest and see if you can come into harmony with her. Wow, some of you are very powerful dowsers who are on here, because I can feel the connection inside my heart of you're connecting. So well done those people who connected. Now I want to emphasize that each of these nature spirits is an individual, just like I'm an individual and you're an individual with different frequencies and different interests and different consciousness. So here's a green man. Now, if you look at these two beings next to each other, you'll see that the lady of the forest on the left is very much in the heart and the emotions. Whereas this specific green man, not necessarily all of them, but this specific green man is very cerebral. You see his very intelligent eye and how his focus is up here in the third eye area. So if you were looking to find the frequency to go in and communicate with the green man, you're going to go to a different place than if you had gone to with the lady of the forest. So where are you personally going to start on this quest if you want to get in touch with nature spirits and use dowsing to do so? So it all depends on your interests, your abilities, and your necessities. So you can start, some people consider nature spirits to be the spirit of nature, and you can go into your own backyard and you can identify with the ants to ask them to move, or you can identify with the butterflies or the flowers. That is one form of nature spirit communication that many dowsers use. You can also identify with life forms you wish to communicate with and locate that frequency. And on the right, this is a wood elf princess, I call her. I like her ear, her long bit of hair, and her profile. And again, this is one that I isolated from the background so you could see her more clearly. So to prove your connection, it's very important, our modern technology, our cameras and our cell phones, and then the post-processing process. And this I just wanted to do a little review on. I use a Nikon D850, that's a full frame, and I use the Adobe products. But a lot of you use iPhone or other types of cell phones. Those are equally good. Nowadays, they're very good. And how does this work? Now, this is one of the handouts that you can pick up in the chat area. So if you are interested in that, that is a downloadable file for you. So I'm just going to review this quickly here. So how this works is that all of life is conscious. Even cameras, cell phones, and computers in their own realms are conscious. That is, there's only one life form, one ultimate source in the universe. And that, since there is only one source, one energy, that energy pervades everything. So if you wish to connect to a chair, or you wish to connect to a tree or a person, it's all the same thing. It's just finding the frequency of that aspect and identifying into that aware consciousness that exists inside of it and communicating, which is the basis for interdimensional communication that I've practiced for a long time. So the issue is the camera does not have a complex vital body as humans do. So, but it is alive, and any photographer who works with a camera knows that their camera is very special to them, that it understands what that photographer is looking to do, and it helps to get that shot. If you communicate with the nature, with the camera, it actually knows that you're attempting to get a shot of a nature spirit, and it actually seeks that frequency just inherently inside its makeup. And a lot of people have done experiments where, like in a workshop, somebody cannot get a shot of it. If I give them my camera, they can see inside my camera, because my camera is used to seeing that frequency, whereas their camera is used to taking maybe a picture of a beach ball. It's just what they're used to. Now, the computer with a good photo program is a useful tool for this, because you can use this to enlarge or decrease shadows. A lot of times when we're out shooting, we have no option. We're shooting in bright daylight, and you need to get that shadow brought back and maybe the lights darkened. Working with a good computer program, if you want to show beautiful proof of your work, is essential. Now, the presentation of your evidence is important. So you can take a snapshot of what the camera sees, or what I have chosen to do over time is to adjust the image as I would a portrait study of a person. I feel that these, my friends, and they're my friends in the nature spirit realms, deserve as much respect as I would accord a company president. When I take a photo, I want to make sure that I get the right side, so I'll walk all around and see which side I want to photograph them from, and I'll make sure as much as I can that I get the proper lighting, or if I can't, I'll do it in Photoshop.
You might want to check time if you want the questions.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to finish up this very quickly. Again, we don't want to alter the subject itself. Here are some examples of working with a photo program to highlight the personality of a nature spirit. The left is the photo out of the camera, and the right is adjusted in Photoshop. And the left is the scene of a tree, a mesquite tree in its area, and the right is when I just put a screen over it so you could see the image better. And why am I so fascinated with this? Well, we're meant to be the stewards of Earth, not the masters or the oppressors. And in the far distant future, many humans will have the ability to directly communicate with all of these life forms. And this is our inbred human desire, and nature spirit photography is a provable first step to this. So I want to thank you all. I'm closing here with a wonderful image, a panorama at the Garden of the Gods in Colorado. And this is an interdimensionally created mural showing a ant being and the Indian and the animals that they took into the inner earth to protect during one of the previous changes of ages. And this is there for everybody to see. You see it, evidently, they see it, but whites moving through here just see the energy itself. So now, all right, can we have some questions?
Yes, you have two significant questions, so you're going to have to be careful with your time. One was, how do you know all those details about the person in the tree?
And the other one, just to...
The other one is a little bit more technical.
Oh, okay.
I
Right.
want,
Go ahead.
Roxanne Louise wants to cut down many trees on her 63 acres and doesn't want to get hell from the nature spirits, as happened last time. She cut any healthy trees. She needs to cut for timber, mulch, sunlight, for crops, and mountain view. Do you have any advice?
All right, so with Roxanne, man, she's a force unto herself.
I said it was more complicated.
Okay, so let me go into that first one. And the first one again was, how do I know?
The details about those persons.
All right, how do I know? Well, I know that because in this lifetime and in many previous lifetimes, I've been an interdimensional communicator, and I can talk to these life forms as easily as I'm talking to you and get an answer as clear from them as I can get from you. So when I want to know about something, I simply ask them and they tell me. Now, this is for many people an unbelievable ability. I'm kind of like a savant. Everywhere else I'm perfectly normal, but I happen to be able to talk to nature spirits. So this is why I am so fascinated with photography, because I can have the conversation and I can take the photo, which makes it more believable to a non-experiencer when they're attempting to move into this field themselves. Okay, I hope that answers it. Now, the other one, Roxanne. Roxanne is a dynamite dowser. And I appreciate her asking the question. I think she can go out and talk to the trees and get the answer herself. But what happens in a case where you need to cut down trees and it behooves you, they understand that everything changes and situations need to change. And if something has to happen, it behooves you to go out and before you do the work and explain to them what has to be done and why. Even if you can't perceive that they hear, you go out respectfully and you do whatever your tradition is, offer tobacco, offer prayer, and let them know that because I need to do this situation, I need to cut down these trees. And then you say to them, I am going to be doing it next Tuesday, whatever. In that period of time, would you please move from this area those beings who can move to, or mobile and can move from sight, because there are two kinds of nature spirits. There's those who come into an area and can move out, and then there are those inherent to the life form itself. So first, the Deva can get those life forms out who can move. Then you need to go in and offer a prayer, as the natives would do, to the life form and thank that life form for all they have offered. Let them know what is coming to replace them. You appreciate their participating in this, and that you pray for their moving into another life in another form, whatever they wish. So, and then you offer a blessing after it's been cut. You would offer a blessing to the land. You would invite back in those nature spirits that moved off while you went through the process, that want to come in and help to energize this property with its new configuration. So you're acknowledging that you're part of an interdimensional community that you can work with consciously. There, okay.
Thank you. Roxanne, I'd love to, really, really, really love to talk to you about this since I have a little experience with it. Another question from Linda is, what happens when a forest is cut down? Particularly what has happened on this continent? How did it affect humans? That's a big question.
It's kind of so, I kind of sort of answered it when I answered Roxanne's, but let me just observe what all dowsers know. That is, when you have builders come in and they just strip cut a piece of land and then they build houses anywhere they want, just geometrically, that this becomes a wonderful opportunity for a dowser to have a good career in land clearing, land alteration. You know, because now we have to go in and we have to say, well, you built your bedroom was built over a vortex, and now we have to do something about it. Or there's you know, dark water running underneath your house. You know, and the old ways where you bring in a shaman and he'd position the house and then you'd respectfully place it there and work with the nature spirits. That was much healthier for all of us. Okay.
Every culture has, like, feng shui, people who are sensitive, who I think we find parallels everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You are a great speaker, artist, and photographer.
Okay, is there anybody who has a question?
Well, I think when Linda asked that question, I'd refer her back to the history of the White Mountain National Forests when New Hampshire was stripped, and it resulted in all kinds of floods and pollution and landslides, and wasn't good.
Yes, my family's summer home, going back to King George, a grant from them, is in North Conway, New Hampshire. So we're right in the middle of the White Mountains, and I love to go up there and photograph. And I love Mount Washington, which was seriously stripped and you know, rebuilt, all that area, which is why we have such spectacular autumns up there, because the Canadian maples came in when the native trees were decimated. When you're taking photographs of nature beings and trees, you will find that if you go someplace that has a large human interaction, like a park or that people visit all the time, that those spirits actually create images of recognizable to humans. Whereas if you go out for a walk in the middle of a virgin forest, you're going to find trees with images that reflect either inner earth beings or ETs or animals. So on my family property, which is virgin forest, I will go out and I love to find the wood elves and the gnomes and chat with them because they're very happy there. They're very strong and happy. So, okay. Anything else anybody would like? I think we can pretty well wrap up now, huh?
Well, Margarita was wondering if you see all people oriented, or if sometimes you get images who are just not people at all.
All right, well, you know what? It's just like people. Some trees and rocks are introverts and some are extroverts, and some are young and some are older. And I think if you saw in the that tableau in Central Park, those were a lot of animals. So when I'm going out, yes, I will see gnomes, leprechauns, I will see geese that are in there. I will see different kinds of animals. It depends really on your affinity and what you are intuitively looking for. So if you are interested in seeing the animals, that's what's going to come to you first. Just like when I go out for, I take people out and my totem is bear, but if I go out and one of my friends, her totem is wolf, and we'll go out and I'll see a tree and I'll say, wow, look at that cool bear. And she'll look at it and she said, wow, look at that cool wolf. because her frequency is very close to the wolf totem and mine to the bear. So you're going to see first those things that resonate with your frequency.
That's wonderful. You still have 2 minutes.
Okie doke. What we got? Anything else?
Uh, I think that we could have a whole workshop just with Roxanne Louise's question.
Oh, definitely. And I've had friends out here in Illinois where a lot of buildup is occurring in this part of the prairie states. And I will very often, I have people call me in absolute tears because somebody who moved in across the street decided to cut down all the old oaks. They wanted more light. So I think out in, I think Vermont and places out in the East Coast, they actually now have rules in place where you have to get permission before you cut down these old trees. And I think that's a very valuable one. You know, it shows the respect that humans have for their nature spirit partners. I think that's a very good one. So.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming. I love it. I have 30 seconds to tell you, when I first started learning about nature spirits, I found a ladybug on one of my mint plants, and I talked to the diva of ladybugs and asked for help, and I never had a bad ladybug, a bad aphid problem again in that garden. It doesn't mean aphids completely go away or ladybugs would have nothing to eat. It just means they're not an overwhelming problem.
Yeah, there's a lot you can do once you can start talking to the nature spirits, which all dowsers know, a lot of dowsers know. And you go in and just simply talk to the reigning deva or the reigning life force of any of these life forms, and you can work up a good conversation and partnership with them if you respect them and if you honor the promises you make to them. So I want to thank everybody so much for coming. And I hope to see you again soon in person when we can go back to meeting in person, and have a good rest of the conference. Okay.
Thank you.